I was born 17 years ago. For the past 6 months, I've been in my basement playing Skyrim. But for all those hours, I've never understood what the hell has been going on. I scoured the internet, searching for wikis, to find even the most obscure events in the Elder Scrolls. Behold, sunlight now enters my room. These are the early hours of the morning, and my few moments of free time. Fueled by obscene amounts of caffeine, I search for the events of the Elder Scrolls lore.
Tiber Septim, also known as Talos, Hjalti Earlybeard, the Dragonborn, and Ysmir, is probably the most famous figure in all of Tamrielic history. Since this topic is just so big, it's going to get split into 2 episodes, with the first one covering his early years and rise to power, and the second one covering the Tiber Wars, which is a period of around 40 years, when Tiber Septim actually builds the Third Empire. Now, with his whole host of different names, I'm going to just kind of follow convention and call him Talos up until the point where he actually gets crowned Emperor, and call him Tiber Septim after that. But keep in mind, we're talking about the same guy throughout. Well, actually, knowing me, I'll probably just use the names interchangeably, despite the fact that I just kind of said it right now, so either way, keep all the names in mind. Again, it's the same guy. So, he's believed to have been born in Second Era, 854. One of the things that makes him extra complicated in the lore, though, is that there's kind of 2 versions of the story. Though they're both basically the same thing, they differ on a few key elements. So we've got the Orthodox version, which is the official version promoted by the Empire, and we have the heretical version, which is written by the Underking. Now, he's a really complicated lore thing, and since I want to focus on Talos, I won't really go into him that much. Basically, if you believe the official version, he's Talos' battle mage, Zurin Arctus, and if you believe the unofficial version, he's this long-dead Nordic king who keeps reviving himself, and yeah, it just gets hopelessly confusing. So keep in mind, the Orthodox version states that the Underking is the Grand Battle Mage, Zurin Arctus, and actually becomes the Underking when his heart becomes the Mantella. And don't worry, I'll be explaining that later on. And if you believe the Arcturian heresy, so the unofficial version, it has the Underking being Ysmir, the old king dude, all along just purely acting as sort of an advisor to Talos, or I guess in this case, Hjalti Earlybeard. So going into the Orthodox version, it has him being born in Atmora in Second Era 854 under the name Talos. In his youth, he traveled to Skyrim, and here is where he first learned how to use the Thu'um and war tactics from the local chieftains. He showed great promise and rose to prominence. At age 20, he led an invasion of Old Hrol, and took it back from the Witchmen of High Rock, so what we now know as the Forsworn. After this victory, storms broke out, a sign that the Greybeards were about to speak. Upon traveling up to High Hrothgar, well, he's traveling up to High Hrothgar, but the storms are bad enough, everyone else is running away. So, this is already a pretty good sign of things to come. Upon getting up there, he meets with the Greybeards. They remove their gags and speak his name. This causes the whole world to shake. They tell him one day he will rule all of Tamriel, but to do so, he must go south. Now, the heretical version has him born on the same date, except in the region of El Cair and High Rock, and he's born in this version under the name Hjalti Earlybeard. I won't really go into that much detail about why I think what version is correct. That's really a topic I could speculate on for a whole video. If you'd like to see that get made, let me know. I'd have no problem doing it. I like the Orthodox version much better just because it's the far better story. It's really epic, really portrays him as a great hero, but I'm kind of inclined to believe the heretical version as the more true one. Not just because it's a bit more realistic, so to speak. That's not why, because we see legendary figures cropping up all the time in the Elder Scrolls universe, so the Dragonborn, the Nerevarine Incarnate, the Hero of Kvatch, that sort of thing, it's completely precedented. The smoking gun, so to speak, is that Second Era 854 and him coming from Atmora, because the last contact we have between Atmora before that is in First Era 68, when two ships laden with corpses land in Tamriel. And that's just a pretty long time to go without hearing anything else, so I'm kind of inclined to believe the heretical version, but that in and of itself isn't quite enough proof. So, either way, yeah, that's just what I'm leaning on, but believe whatever version you want to. Again, basically same story, but they differ on the details. So, either way, they both end up going south to seek their fortune. Talos soon became the chief general of Culhwch, a petty Clovian king. Clovia, by the way, is a small kingdom in Cyrodiil. After the chaos of the Interregnum, Cyrodiil was fractured into multiple warring kingdoms and was no longer a unified nation. Before Talos can really get settled in Second Era 552, a Nord-Breton alliance invades Cyrodiil and occupies major passes and settlements in the Jural Mountains. They made their headquarters in Sancre Tor, a supposedly impregnable fortress protected by unscalable cliffs on all sides. The entrance to the citadel was magically concealed under the appearance of a large mountain lake. This, of course, made the generals in Sancre Tor very confident, and they dared Talos to attack them. Despite the Cyrodiilic army Talos controlled being small, poorly trained and equipped, and completely unprepared for the harsh winter conditions, he met their challenge. Upon arriving in the lowlands around Sancre Tor, Talos was approached by a Breton deserter, who told him of a mountain trail down the heights behind the citadel. Talos took the bulk of his army on this trail and left a scant force in the lowlands to draw out the enemy troops. The Nord-Breton commanders fell for the ruse hook, line, and sinker, and ordered most of their army out, leaving only a tiny garrison behind in Sancre Tor. Talos and his forces quickly traversed the pass, and the Breton deserter showed them the secret entrance to the citadel. Him and his men flooded in, and the small garrison was easily overwhelmed. When news reached the Nord-Breton forces, who were having a pretty easy go against the smaller force, they completely fell apart. The Nords defected en masse to Talos, his use of the Thu'um no doubt convincing them he was a son of Skyrim, so they join his army, and the Bretons start fleeing, but are soon captured. Their generals are executed, and the common troops are sold into slavery. Within Sancre Tor, Talos recovered the Amulet of Kings, in the tomb of the Emperor Riemann III. This was an object he would not only cherish for the rest of his life, but pass on to his descendants as well. So, after the Battle of Sancre Tor, Talos' aura of invincibility only grows. The majority of Cyrodiil's remaining petty kingdoms simply surrender, and the last remaining forces of the Akaviri Potentate are easily defeated. Of course, at this point, all the Akaviri Potentates are dead, we think, but their government is still technically around. They soon conquer the Imperial City and fully reunify Cyrodiil. So, with Cyrodiil now reunited, Kublai Khan intended on crowning himself emperor. However, he never got the chance, thanks to fate intervening. We again have two versions of what happens here. So, the Orthodox version has that a Breton Nightblade from the forces Talos had defeated at Sancre Tor sets fire to the Imperial Palace, burning it to the ground, and in the ensuing chaos while this is going on, he assassinates Kublai Khan, and attempts to assassinate Talos. Despite slitting his throat, Talos survives, but he's only able to whisper, and is never again able to use his Thum to win battles. The heretical version actually has Talos himself assassinating Kublai Khan, and he sets fire to the Imperial Palace and slits his own throat to avert suspicion. Although it's been hinted that it could have been out of guilt as well, but that just doesn't seem that likely. So, either way, he's crowned Emperor by Grand Battle Mage Zurin Arctus, and upon his ascension, he takes the Cyrodiilic name Tiber Septim, and that is what I'm going to start referring to him as now. But again, knowing me, I'll probably just use the words interchangeably. So, you've been warned. Okay, well that covers the early years. Next time, we'll cover the Tiber Wars, the building of the Third Empire.